posted a video about how inherently creepy I find the practice of older men specifically seeking out very young women like 18, 19 because they can manipulate them. And I shit you not, somebody stitched that video and said that the reason women like me were mad at that is because we're jealous because we're not in those men's dating pools. I'm not jealous of a man who definitely wants to date children and is skirting the legal line as close as possible. And nobody else should be either, because that's creepy. But we should be calling it out.
Most women in their early 20s, they're very forgiving. They make a lot of excuses for their boyfriends. They're even like permissive of unacceptable behavior. Men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s absolutely know this down to their core. Why? Because they've tried to date 30-year-old women, and those women saw the way that they lived and they said, fuck no. They saw the way that they dressed. They said, go learn how to dress yourself. They saw them getting into legal trouble. They said, no, I'm not gonna date a criminal. And they bailed. But a 30-year-old man loser is gonna see a 20-year-old, and they know that 20-year-old is gonna make excuses for why they went to jail. And it's well known that a man's either gonna bring you up or take you down with him. A lot of the women who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s have got their wits about them, and they see that man and they're like, no, I'm up here, he's down here. Like, the act of even bringing him up there is gonna be met with a lot of resistance or a lot of resentment in the long term. Because a lot of the times they're happy living in squalor, they're happy being low effort, and they lack the executive function to maintain the life that the woman in her 30s, 40s, and 50s is already living. So while the 30, 40, and 50-year-olds are like, hey, we're not gonna raise no more grown man babies, especially ones in their 30s and 40s and 50s, they reject them. Then those men run back and they find the young ones, and they come to it with a lot of misplaced rage. Rage that they should have at themselves. Now, it is one thing to be attracted to youthful features and youthful behavior. Obviously, nobody wants someone who's bitter, but there are a fraction of them that do like children. A lot of those men just want someone who is as close to a child as possible because they want a child. And one of the things that I noticed being in my late teens to early mid-20s, usually the men that I wanted who were 30 years old and beyond were not the ones who wanted me. It was always a weirdo who was looking at me like, who was very eager to be with me.
I work in finance in a male-dominated industry, and I'm going to tell you why older guys date younger women. I have all these guys around me that I see doing that, and I asked 100 men, whether they're doing that now or not. I asked 100 men, why do you date younger women? And while I understand 100 may not be that huge of a pool, if every single one of them is saying the same thing, I think is pretty legit. So initially, I thought that they were dating younger women because younger women were prettier. But I came to understand that no, there are plenty of older women that will give a younger girl a run for her money, right? Very pretty older women out there. Looks has nothing to do with it. Every single guy, every single one, told me that the reason that they like dating younger women is because they're easier to deal with. And I was like, what does that mean, easier to deal with? And they said, well, she doesn't challenge me. It's not always a back and forth, back and forth. I just tell her something and it just is. And life is just much easier that way without someone always challenging you and asking you questions. Translation, younger women are more gullible. And if you're a younger woman, this is not a knock on you. I was gullible when I was younger too, when I was in my 20s and 30s. But older women are no longer gullible. You know why? Because we have experience in dating. We have seen all the BS. We have seen all the games, and we can see right through it. Our BS meter is on point. And when a guy tries to BS us, we call them out, right? Because we know that's not true. However, if you're younger, you don't have the same experience, you're not going to do that. So older women understand that the reason that you are not being chosen has nothing to do with your looks or your age. It has to do with they think you're too smart. And younger women, please stop dating these old ass dudes, because one of the main reasons they want to be with you is because they think you're too gullible and you deserve better.
When I tell you that I gasped because you're so right. And I always find it so sad whenever I see young women, especially like on TikTok, that they're blasting their relationship and the man they're dating is literally like, he could be your father. And it's so sad because the same reason as to why these women feel so validated and so seen and sexy because these men are paying attention to them. Like, they truly do feel so mature because older men are pursuing them, but it's the complete opposite. The reason they're pursuing you is not because you're so mature, it's because you're so immature. It's because you lack so much experience. You don't have a good reference point to make good decisions. This is one of those things that I can't even be like, oh, well, I guess it's a case-by-case basis. No, it is not.
The older I get, the more I realize why older men date women that are significantly younger than them, and only because the women their age would never, ever even glance at them twice. Because now there are men my age that try to approach me and I have to actively withhold the urge to spit on them. But younger me would have just died over them. And it was for stupid reasons, like, oh my God, he's so cool and mature. He has his own apartment. He should. He's 30. I just thought that was such a sign of maturity and being like a real grown up. But those men were creme de la piss, okay? Like cream of the turds. Just very unimpressive. But I thought that them having like, you know, good jobs was a sign of them being real adults, and they were just little immature baby boys. But yeah, those men are almost always losers. Still think it's gross, but now I see the logic.
This is a question for the men out there. TM Rister writes, ask any man that's 50, would he rather be with a 30-year-old or the 55-year-old? 98% would say the 30-year-old. That's a fact. I'm very curious. It doesn't bother me either way, but I'd love to know. So men out there that are over 50, would you purposely choose or only want a woman, if you could choose any mate, would it be a woman 30 if you're at least 50 years old? What say you?
Hey, Jennifer Hurwitz, dating coach, relationship expert, and all that other good stuff. Look, I just had I met with a client today, and we were talking about men in their 50s thinking that they should date women in their 20s and 30s. Look, I'm going to say this. I might get a lot of pushback. I might get a lot of feedback, and it's going to be negative. I don't care. Men, my clients included, who are putting that their age range on dating apps is between 20 and 35, and they're in their 50s. Y'all, come on. I have great clients, okay? Great clients that are in their 40s and 50s, even a little bit 40s, 50s, 60s, who are your jam. They are your speed. They are your people. They get you. They're in the same age range. They understand. They know. They're mature like you. Not that the younger girls aren't, but they don't even know who Madonna is. Okay, please read my book. I was a cougar. I went out with a guy who was 27. Yeah, I did. I handed him a Chewy bar and a juice box and said, bye-bye, go on your way. He didn't even know who Prince was. I'm not kidding. Okay, so look it, y'all. I'm just saying, please, it's fine. Date who you want to date. I don't care. But men in your 50s, please try. Give it a good old college try to date women in your age range and see what happens. See what happens. They're fabulous women in their, oh God, anyway, I'm done. I'm sticking to it. Follow for more.
I find it curious that women get so upset about the biological fact that most men prefer women in their younger years, mainly due to fertility, low body count, and just general attraction. When I knew countless women at the age of 19, 20 who dated 30, 35 plus men while they were young, and then all of a sudden they get to be 30, 35, and now all of a sudden they disagree with it, saying it's creepy. I find that it's more just an insecurity factor and the fact that they are no longer that young and now they see those women as competition, which is sad because in reality, most of my videos are really to teach younger women to choose better in their 20s. If you are in your 30s and still single, that is no reason to hate on the younger generation or hate on the men that prefer them and by calling them creepy or even words that I'm not even going to use here. Innately, I have always known this. My husband is 7+ years older than me, and I did that for a reason. And he did that for a reason. At the age of 37 when we met, he knew he wanted a family. He's not going to go find another 37-year-old hoping by the grace of God or with fertility treatments that they could have a baby. I'm not hating on women. We just need to understand both sides. Men have every right to choose their preferences just as women do. For example, nobody wants to date a short, broke man.